Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio. Your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. This is It's Your Healthy Lifestyle show, hosted by the founder of this platform, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and myself, Roland Friedl. How important is your health and fitness to you? We show you how you can easily eat healthier every day, how you can improve your fitness and recover much quicker after your exercises and workouts. Families will learn how to optimize their children's health and nutrition. And finally, you will also hear how you live a long, healthy and fit life into your old age. Join us here on It's Your Healthy Lifestyle.
Aging is a very big topic for discussion, or not. Some people don't want to talk about getting older, but the truth is, if we're here, we are aging by the minute. And the question is, why is the focus always on how many years we're going to live instead of how many good years are we going to live? Because if we don't take care of our health and we live a long life, that doesn't mean it's going to be a happy life. Welcome to It's Your Healthy Lifestyle. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck here on USA Global TV and Radio. If you haven't done so yet, please do subscribe to our two YouTube channels, USA Global TV and Radio, home of the YouTube Silver Creator Award, and Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Joining me is the star of our show and a dear friend, Mr. Roland Friedl. Let's welcome him to the program. Roland, good to see you as always.
Yeah, good to see you too, Dr. Jacalyn. Hello.
Hello. I know that this topic is something that you're very passionate about, and I'm really glad that we are talking about this today because I think there is a lot of focus on the number of years that we're going to live instead of how many healthy, happy years are we living.
100%. I think it's so important that we focus more on the health than on the on the health span and on the lifespan. And by the way, it's also about bringing more life to your age instead, or more life into your daily time instead of time to your life. So there's another point. But when I'm getting older, I will be 62 in about 3 or 4 weeks. I'm taking care about my auntie. She is 86 and a half. And I meet a lot of old people here because, I bring her to a daycare on every Wednesday. I bring her to doctors. So I see a lot of old people. So in their late 80s, 90s, 102 is the oldest lady, by the way. They're both very active. They walk around. My auntie lives alone in the house, does the garden. She has no mind. She has no dementia, nothing. So she of course, sometimes she forgets a little bit, but this is normal. But she's quite in a good shape, and her friends too. And we had a long conversation about how to get older and how does she feel and what she did to stay so healthy becoming older. Because, my mom, she is 80. My mom is 84. And she has dementia since years, and she doesn't recognize me. So I was wondering, what's the difference between my mom and my auntie? Almost same age, same country, but both had a total different lifestyle. a total different lifestyle. So my auntie was always very active, not doing sports, but she was walking on the weekends with friends. She was working in the garden, making the firewood and stuff like that. So she was very, very active. And her diet was totally different to my mom's diet. Totally different. So my auntie, she doesn't have sweets. She doesn't eat any processed food. Never. She's cooking always fresh things. She's never buy any frozen stuff or canned stuff or prepared stuff. So total different food what she's eating. And she was never married. Never had a man. So
There's the answer right there. Bingo.
I don't know. It's part of it, but it's quite interesting. And I did some research about this, Dr. Jacalyn, and because there's scientists say we're getting older and older and older. To be honest, it's not true. Most of the people not. Because it's always the average year how many we live is, but as we have less wars, less men are dying young ages the last years here. So the average lifespan, of course, is higher. But what I want to focus a little bit in this topic, Dr. Jacalyn, is that the peak, we're already on the peak. I think maybe my next generation will make it too, but the next generation, like my kids and my grandkids, I don't believe that they will get so old and healthy, because they started in the first year with processed food, less sports, being less outside, sitting more in front of a screen. I think that this has I don't know what's your point on that, but this has a huge impact, I think, about our health span and so on, also on our lifespan on the long case.
I agree with you. I think, and of course, I'm a year older than you, and I'm damn happy to still. So there you go. But I think when we were growing up, even though we've grown up in different countries, it was completely different than what we see today with young people attached to devices and not outside playing sports like you used to see. And when I do see kids playing, like where I live in an apartment building and my car's in a parking lot. And sometimes the kids will be in the parking lot instead of out in the outdoor space. You know what? It doesn't upset me. I'm just glad to see kids playing. I'm just glad to see that they're out there, and you have to be extra cautious. But we need to play. We need to expend the energy. And so you may be onto something there. I know you and I have talked about this before because of your mom. And of course, my mom had dementia and she passed away in 2023, but she was extremely active. She was what you would call a jock. She was definitely an athlete her whole life. And the thing I think that brought her down was her, I hate to use obsession, but obsession with sugar. A lot of her diet was sugar. And for all of you soda drinkers out there, my mom drank sometimes 4 or 5 Cokes a day. And I saw that growing up and even, into the end. And of course, I haven't had a soda, I want to say 30 years, because there's nothing but chemicals in there. So to your point about your auntie eating everything healthy and everything that's fresh, I think that makes a huge difference.
100%. I think that nutrition has a larger impact than fitness itself. Of course, fitness is very important. We maybe can also have an emphasis on that. But I think it's nutrition. And my mom, she didn't drink sodas, but she was a sugar addict. So she was a coffee addict, but I think the coffee was more sugar than caffeine inside. So a lot of sugar in the coffee. It was health sweet, and she had cake, like her mom. Her mom was the same. They loved cake, self-baked cakes, or they went to a nice coffee shop having a cake every single day. This creamy, sweet stuff. And I visited her last Saturday. I was in Linz and I visited her and I picked her up, and I know she had no idea who I am, and she doesn't talk. She's singing a little bit, but the only thing that makes her happy is when we go for coffee and a cake. And it's, I say, okay, I accept it, because why change now? It's too late anyway. But she's a 100% sugar addict. And when I bring her chocolate, so in the beginning I made a mistake. I brought 4 or 5 chocolate boxes, because sometimes I'm away for a few months. I'm not in my home country, and then a person said, "Please don't do this. because she eats them all at once. I said, what? That's 5 pounds or 6 pounds of chocolate. Yeah, yeah, she can't stop. So please, only a small box and it's all fine. Yeah, I
Roland,
think it's
what does that feel like when you, I know it's we're off topic, but when you go to get her and I know you've told me she doesn't know who you are, what does that feel like?
for myself. She's my mom. It's very depressing. And to be honest, last conversation, I don't know, last show we had to get on Sunday on the script, we have been talking about the stories we tell ourselves. And I was telling her, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. It's not because of my mom, but it's about the energy there. Old people there, people dying there. It's the energy, and then seeing my mom, it's so depressing. She she had a she had a life, and then it's ending like this. She was always working hard, and she had a hard time with my dad, and my brother passed away very early of suicide, so she had a hard time, and then she's ending like this. That's tough. And this Saturday, my partner was the first time with me, and she said, "You know what? I really respect you, how you handle her. You really, because it's hard, but she's my mom, and I travel a lot, so most of the winter time for 5 6 months I'm away, and I always said, okay, I think I would regret it if I wouldn't see her when I'm here, but it's tough. It's tough. I
Yeah.
mean, for my mom, it doesn't make any difference because she has no idea who I am. We're sitting in front of her, but yeah, it's tough, but it is like it is.
But it's interesting what you just shared, and thank you for telling us all of that. I appreciate it. We just had the show, Tracy showed Dementia Home Care before, during, and after. And, I'm always very emotional. I'm producing the show, I'm not on. I'm like, "Ah," because so many memories are coming back. But what I wanted to share was, and I took this away today, we don't actually know what your mom knows or doesn't know. We just know what she's looking like she knows or doesn't know. But inside, she knows that someone is coming to see her and cares about her. And,
Yeah.
that can make a world of difference. So when we're talking about today, health span versus lifespan, I know sometimes we, as humans, we get very preoccupied with the number. Well, my father lived to this age and my mother lived to that age, so it's likely I might live to this age. But how many good years are you having? What are you doing? Like, if you're watching this and even though our audience is basically 30s and up, let's say you're in your 20s, what are you doing today to prepare yourself for being here for the long haul? And when we're younger, we don't really think about that. We think we're completely invincible. Nothing is going to happen to us. And then as we get older, we realize that things start to fall apart a little bit. Things get out of our control. I know I've shared this probably before because you told me about the blue light glasses, but I might be looking at this computer screen. It could be 12 hours in a day. And by the end of the day, I've watched some of my shows at 7 or 8 o'clock at night. I'm like this. My eyes are like this, like they're hardly open, not because I'm tired, but I can't keep just the blue light. And so that wasn't like that a few months ago. Things just happen. So if we're not taking the right action now, then it's going to show up when we're older. And I'll share one more story and then go back to you. As you know, I gave up alcohol, which was only Chardonnay. I mean, I shouldn't say only, but it was Chardonnay. It wasn't something else. And I gave up sugar in January. And so it's 7 months. And I went out with a girlfriend and she said, "Why don't you have a glass of wine? It's been all this time." And it was a beautiful restaurant that I hadn't been to since last year. I had the glass of wine. And I'll tell you what, I really didn't want to have it. Like, I had no desire for it, but I thought, let's see what happens. And I did not feel well. I came back here. I could do nothing. I literally could not do the rest of my work. I had to go and lie down. And I thought, I don't want to feel like that again. So I was talking to my trainer and he said, your body is so pure, which is hilarious, but it's so pure that just one glass of wine, your body was giving you information, which is, we don't want this. Don't start bringing this back. And so that's all I needed to know, that it's not happening again. But your body does talk to you. And if you don't listen to it, then don't expect to have a healthy life.
100%, Dr. You mentioned something very important. I think that most people are not aware how strong their body is fighting every day to get rid of the toxic stuff, like alcohol, like cigarettes, like sugar, like processed food, like, I don't know, herbicide. herbicides, pesticides when it's in the food, or preservatives or artificial colorings or whatever. So the body is really strong. And but one day it's going to collapse. And most people think, and it's not because you have done something wrong yesterday. It's because, you summarize over the years and decades, and then the body says bang, and you maybe had a heart attack or a stroke or diabetes or whatever. It doesn't come out of a sudden. And what you said is, so many months without alcohol and sugar, and your body is pure, and you can feel it. And it seemed to me, when I drink alcohol, I'm not drunk, but I feel like unplugged. Somebody unplugged me. I have less power. I cannot focus. I will concentrate. And I thought, how was it before? And I realized that it was the same before, but I take some caffeine or some stuff to be less fatigued or to be focused and stuff like that. Most people don't have no idea how it could be or how wonderful it is without all this toxic stuff, and they believe that's not a good life. I think it's the other way around.
Absolutely. I think it's a funny story. I remember when I was in my 20s and I was out of college and I was living with my parents and working for my dad. And I'll never forget this. I don't know who I went out with, but we had a lot of wine. And the next day I had to go to work and I did not feel well. And I am telling you what, Roland, this is so funny. I remember getting in my car, which I probably was legally drunk at the time, right? Because it doesn't leave your system that quickly. And I drove to McDonald's. I had the seat like way back and I was driving because I felt so sick. And I pulled up to the drive-thru and I got a quarter pounder with cheese, large fries, a shake, and a Coke, all because of the alcohol, right? To get the grease and you look at it, and you go, wait a minute. So you did one thing that wasn't healthy, and then you did this, and this to try to clean up the first thing. And I think that's when I decided that I was totally done with fast food and with sodas and all of that. But that's something that people do, right? You read about it all the time. I've never used drugs in my life, but you read stories. Someone will say, well, I was depressed, so I took an upper, but then I was too high, so I took a lower. So then I took some marijuana. Then I did it's like, whoa, it's like a whole science project here. Why not get to what is the root cause of how you're feeling and why you're feeling that way?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. It's the same, when I take sugar or eat a Buster or stuff like that. I feel so down the next day because I don't eat it for a long time. And as you said, now the body's pure and it's reacting now. And I think it was reacting before too, but we didn't listen because it's a tough word, but I think we didn't feel ourselves really. We haven't been connected with ourselves. We're just hustling in this treadmill, doing business or working in the corporate world, doing. It's more about kind of survival mode, not in a negative way that we don't have enough food or shelter, but going from day to day, during the week, a lot of coffee. I know you're not a coffee drinker, but during the week, normally a lot of coffee to stay awake in the business, in the job, and on the weekend, alcohol with friends, so you don't have to feel yourself, and you always repeat it, and I think it's normal. And we think it's normal. And I guess I brought this example in another show. It's like, when you're obese, when you just eat too much, you think this is normal, how you feel. And all the people, when they're losing a hell of weight, afterwards say, oh, I didn't know I feel so good. I didn't know that the difference is so tremendous. If I would have known, I would have started earlier. And I think the same is with living a healthier lifestyle. It's a difference. I mean, my friends they see on a regular basis. I'm in Austria. They're the same age like me. Actually, they look older. They say to themselves, "You look much younger than ourselves." I look fitter. I don't take any pharmaceuticals instead of them. Some have they statin, some blood pressure, some have sugar, some have already had a heart operation, so they take some stuff for the blood. So all my friends in my same age, they're taking at least 2, 3, 4, 5 pharmaceuticals, and I'm none of them. It's because I don't need them. And I think this is what I've done all the last years is staying more. I say 80% healthy. Of course, I had my glass of wine or enjoyed my drink or enjoyed an ice cream, but not on a regular basis. And I think this is so important that we still can enjoy stuff. Actually, my partner, she is the fourth week without sugar, without alcohol, nothing. Yeah, she's on whole animal based, so she will do it for 8 months. Actually, for 8 weeks. But on the 2nd of September, her daughter has a birthday, and I'm on the 12th. So they said, okay, I make an exception. I said, I have a small piece of cake. And I said, this is okay. But as my mom, every day, 2 or 3 pieces of cake. Or my grandma was the best. And my mom is slim. But my grandma, she was a grandma. And then
Yes.
the funny thing was, she always said, I don't understand why I have so much weight. I don't eat. I don't cheat. You know what? She never did it at home. But when I was in the city walking by a nice cafe, the Cafe Jindrak, very famous here in my town, very famous for the Linzer torta. Anyway, she was always sitting there when I left school. Always. Every day. I said, "Ah." And she said, no, that's not counting. I don't cheat at home. No, but you sit 3 hours in a coffee shop with your friends.
Well, that goes
So
again to the stories we tell ourselves.
yeah, that's the
Yeah.
point. And most people are not aware what they're eating. And actually nowadays, besides, media screening, computer games, people are eating by reading a newspaper or by
Unconsciously.
they're eating unconsciously and they're not aware what they're eating. And I always say to my friends who have a problem, really every snack, write it down and then read it after 1 week what you've been eating. It's much more than you thought you ate.
It's very true. Well, I think the other thing is that sometimes people use food as a tool because they're bored or they're sad or they're happy or they're angry. And when you are not dependent on anything else, like for example, I know a lot of people drink caffeine. You drink caffeine. I had to give it up because of my ulcerative colitis. But let's say it was, if I have had it 35 years, let's say 10 or 12 years ago, I stopped drinking caffeine only because when the doctor explained it to me, it made perfect sense. You put caffeine in, which would be iced tea, and it makes the digestive system work faster, right? Because it's a stimulant. And so that means your digestive system, when you have ulcerative colitis, you want it to be really slowly working. So it wasn't a problem because I had a reason. But when we don't actually have a why that's strong enough or a reason, then it is difficult to move through life when things happen and we're not happy about it, or we are happy. Think about it. You're happy, you want to celebrate. How do people celebrate? Food is a big one. You're sad. What do people do? They eat, right? You're bored. What do? You eat. You go to the movies, you eat, you watch TV, and it's eating. So we need food, we need energy, we need fuel. I told you that working with my trainer, I need to eat more so I can build more muscle. And it's completely counterintuitive to what I need to do for ulcerative colitis, but it makes sense if you want to build muscle. So we have to make decisions about food every single day. And it comes down to, is food for entertainment or is it for fuel?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it changed the last decades, because food was always there, bringing us food, bringing us energy. We have the macros and the micros, yeah. But it changed about, I guess, in the 1950s. It changed when the first commercials came out with the cereals, and then together with the dairy industry, they brought breakfast in. We never had breakfast before, but they brought breakfast in. Now everybody says breakfast is the most healthiest food meal of the day. What never have been before. But it's, when you repeat it, you believe it. And then, it became a more a social aspect because there was more food on the plate. Before, we had hunger periods. We have war, so there was never enough food. By the way, interesting story. During World War II, a lot of universities in Europe had a problem. The medicine students had a problem. There was not enough people who died because of a heart attack or a stroke. So, when you study medicine, you're working on dead people. So you go inside a body, you look at the veins and stuff like that. And they had to import them from other countries because there was not enough food on the table during World War II here in Europe. So less people obese, less people are dying of a heart attack or a stroke. So they had to import dead people. So there's a correlation between eating too much and now there's a lot of food in the market. There's a lot of food. We're not starving here in Europe. Most people not starving here. Actually, it's too much. When you go to a supermarket, I remember when I was the first time in the US, when I was studying in Athens, Ohio. My first time I was in a supermarket in the US. I said, "My gosh." I was looking for a product. There's not one like it was in Austria 40 years ago. There was 50, and then this wave came to Europe. And when you now go to the supermarket, you have not one cereal, you have 20 cereals, you have 20 yogurts, how many flavors? It's too much there. People can afford it, and it's not illegal like taking cocaine or something else. It's just a different drug. And then food was not about, as you said, surviving because you're starving and getting full, getting the nutrition you need. It was just there. And then, you become addicted to sugar and especially, in nature, there's never sugar and fat together. There's fat or sugar. So, for example, when you eat fatty meat, there's no sugar in the meat. If you eat a sweet fruit, there's no fat in the fruit. So the nutrition industry found out you become the most addicted and the fast addicted when there's sugar and fat combination, like the sweets are in the market. And because what the food industry does is make you addicted to, so you buy it again and again. What is of course? I mean, when you start a business, of course you want your customers to come back. Of course you want it. If it's ethical good, it's a different question. But as an entrepreneur, you want to make business, you want to make sales, you want to make profits. I understand the system, but you as a customer have to understand what's going on.
Absolutely, great point. I know for me, what my addiction was little Reese's cups, because you have the peanut butter and you have the chocolate. So you have the fat and you have the sugar. And the way that it was marketed, they were just small. I'm sure they must still sell them. They were just small. And you could have, I think, 5 of them for 250 calories. So that was my breakfast for years. That, and then on the weekends, I would have a salt bagel toasted with butter and American cheese. So completely unhealthy, right? There's no protein really at all, some small amount in the cheese. And I remember I was going to buy the Reese's again, and then it was like 400 calories for the same 5. I'm like, well, what changed? There were just more chemicals in there. I don't know what it was. But what's interesting is that was so long ago. And all the things that I don't eat anymore, that doesn't make me a superhuman person. I've just made decisions. So my point is that one of the things that's amazing about humans versus AI is we get to make choices. And so whatever you're doing today that might not be helping you with your health span, you can change it. You have to program your mind. You have to have a why. And the why is not just that you want to live to be a certain amount of years. You want to live a healthy life. You don't want someone changing your diaper. You don't want to be drooling somewhere in a rocking chair in a home, and then once in a while someone comes to visit you. You want to have a healthy, active life. So the choices you're making today are going to have an impact on that.
100%, 100%. When I met my partner a few months ago, she said, "What the hell are you doing?" No, I was very healthy. I started drinking a little bit alcohol with her, but I stopped again. I said, "Why are you doing this?" I said, "Okay, I want to stay fit and healthy." And last Saturday when she saw my mom the first time, she said to me, "Roland, I never ever want to end up like this. So if you're still together, please find a solution. I don't want to end up." And I said, "You know what? Now you understand why my lifestyle is like it is. I don't want to end up like this. As you said, I don't want to depend on somebody else and sitting in a wheelchair and cannot go to the toilet by myself or wash myself or whatever. No, I don't want this. I don't want this because I want to self-respect myself. And I'm a human being. I'm not an animal. I want to be and die and go away like a human, full consciously, freedom, free, independent, and self-caring. I don't want this. And
No.
the only reason is to avoid it is there's no 100% guarantee. When I have an accident and somebody hit me and maybe, I don't know, some of my vertebrae is broken, I'm sitting in a wheelchair. Okay, that's bad luck, maybe, yeah. But what is in my power, I do my best to avoid it.
Well,
Because
I think
for me, it's not about becoming 120. For me, it's becoming, when I die, I want to be fit. I want to, I don't know, fall asleep and I don't wake up without pain, without any issues, just because I'm done. Or maybe I decide when I'm older, like my dad passed away. I don't know if I ever told my story. When my dad passed away in 2020, he was fit, he was slim, he was healthy, but he made a decision. When COVID started and everyone was closed in, good God, he made a decision. He said, I don't want this anymore. And he decided to die. And he died within a week. He
how
died
did he
within a week
die?
as a healthy person. Huh?
How did he die?
Mentally. He mentally decided
He just
he's going to
decided
die.
that was enough. He had had enough.
Yeah. But no suicide. No suicide. He was eating a little bit, not much, but yeah, he gave up. Full
On his
consciously.
own
I don't
on his own terms.
Sorry?
It was on his own terms.
It was on his term, yeah. He was 2020. He was 86. He gave up. He said,
Yeah.
"No, I don't want to live like this." But he was healthy, He was independent. He was living in his own apartment and stuff like that. No, he said, "No, I give up." So he went to a hospital, and because it was this COVID, he went to hospital. He was tested, and the doctors called him. He was negative, so all good. He has no infection, nothing, but he gave up. He gave up.
That was right
He's the
before I
one-
met you. I didn't know that story. I'm sorry.
And I think one thing is because he realized that my mom has dementia. And my dad was always hoping that because my parents separated when I was 20 or 18, so over 40 years ago. And he was always, until his end, it was always hope that my mom is coming back. Always. And then he realized that she has dementia and she doesn't recognize him anymore. And I think this was the point when he gave up.
So that was all the way back in 2020. Your mom wasn't able to recognize people.
Yeah. It started in 2020, yeah.
Yeah.
6 years ago.
And for anyone who doesn't know someone who has dementia, it is a very difficult path, especially for caregivers. So, Roland, one thing that I really like to bring up, which probably will take us into another episode, is when you are responsible for someone else, right? You're a parent, maybe you're a caregiver, and the person that you are raising or you're caring for wants to eat sugar. They want to do what they want. And so they try to play on your heartstrings, or they scream and yell, or they complain, or they call you names, whatever it might be, because they want what they want. And so it's actually a very difficult journey. I know with my mother, when I would go to the grocery store, which, by the way, today, as I've mentioned before, I avoid the grocery store. I think I'm literally, it sounds ridiculous, but traumatized from this period of 3 years. And I would go to the grocery store to get her what she wanted. I used to take her, and then she'd be, wandering off, or she'd be putting things in the cart while I wasn't looking, and I'd take them out. We need 2 of these. We need 3 of these. And anyway, I remember when I was by myself and I was putting the food on the grocery, whatever, conveyor, and the guy was scanning everything, and he was looking at me, and it was embarrassing. It was cases of Coke. It was Twizzlers. It was all these candies, whatever they are, all like most of the thing was filled with candy, because we had made a decision as a family, well, she has dementia, let her have what she wants. And I didn't really agree with that. And I felt like I was speeding up the process by giving her those things. And yet at the same time, you almost feel helpless because the person wants it, and that they're already checked out in so many ways. But when you have a child, the child hasn't had a chance at life yet. And plenty of parents will give children candy and sugar and cereals because they don't want to hear them complain, instead of having that discipline and structure. And I'm not judging anyone, I'm not a parent, but I can tell you that if you load the mind with sugar, it's not going to be a pleasant journey for anyone. And so, why take that ability for someone to have a clear mind and a healthy body when they don't really have a choice? They can't go to the grocery store, right? Make some smart decisions, because you really are empowered with how you're setting them up for the future.
100%. 100%. I want to add two things. Just first, for the elder people, when my mom started that your mind is going week on week, it was in about 2015, 2016, something like that. Now, I've been living in Mallorca at the time, and when she came, I realized it. And so I started my research, and I said, okay, we can reverse it, at least stop it, but maybe reverse it by changing the diet. But, she was living in Austria, my mom. I was living in Spain. So I had no chance to control her, to get rid of the sugar. And the other, her sister and the other ones didn't support me. So I gave up. And then when it was too late, I said, okay, let's have her sugar. It's too late anyway. That's one thing. For my kids, actually, I have three boys, grown up now, but when they've been small, there was no sugar at home. No sugar, no sodas at all. Only when we went occasionally for lunch outside, on vacation in a restaurant, they have been allowed to order a soda or something like that, but they never had it at home, And now they are 36, 33, 29, and they still drink soda, so they don't like it at all. So my mom, the mom of my kids and myself, we have been very strict with them. So no sugar at home. Only, for Christmas or for Easter, when the grandparents bought some, chocolate bunnies or whatever, then they had some sugar, but very occasional. So this was quite good. I think it's also important that we take care about the kids, because I know it from some doctors who work with kids, and they all say in the early years, the food you're having, the meals you're having in the early years has a huge impact over the rest of the lifespan. And when you go to the TCM, the traditional Chinese medicine, they go even further, and they say, a woman who wants to be pregnant should start herself eating healthy 2 years ago before she meets a man. So they're a little bit different, quite easy. So it has an impact, and we see it with kids. I think the figures, I don't know how in the US, but here in Europe, the figures are only 25% of the newborn babies are healthy. Can you imagine? So 3 out of 4 newborn babies are not healthy with any issues. So that's one thing. So, and we see it, young kids already have diabetes, they have obese, they have different stuff that all are related to nutrition, and they're all related to sugar. But parents, it's and I don't know if ever, there was a commercial here in Europe on TV many years ago. A mom is doing grocery at the supermarket, and she's going to the cashier. And and the thing is, the industry knows exactly what they're doing, in the height where the kids are. The little kids are seeing the sweets and the chocolate, and they have it always. I don't know. I guess in the US the same, but here in Europe, when you go to the cashier to pay, before we had cigarettes, now they have sweets there. Yeah, they have additional sweets. And then kids start screaming, I want it. And mom says no. The kids say, yeah. And you know what happened? Then the mom is so embarrassed, and she's looking around the other people and said, oh, I don't want to be a bad mom, so I don't want my kids. So she buys the stuff. Instead of taking care of the kids, it's more important what other people or strangers think about her education. What stupidity it is. And there was this commercial where this I don't know, was a boy or girl, the blonde curly one, and she was screaming and then lying on the floor and screaming. I want a chocolate, And then, you know what the mom did in the commercial? She also lay down on the floor and she was screaming, and then the little and it stopped. But it's true, a lot of parents, they have no education in nutrition. Maybe we don't learn it, and we think, okay, a little bit sugar. Yeah, it's a little bit sugar when you eat a candy. But there's sugar in the soda. There's sugar in the processed food. There's sugar there and there, and at the end of the day, it's a huge amount of sugar. At the end of the day, it's a huge amount. And when we go to the supermarket, I always wear my glasses and I read the ingredients. I don't know what I had last time. Most of the ingredients, I don't know, you have a chocolate cream or whatever it is, it's 50, 60% sugar.
Yes.
Sugar.
Shocking. It's shocking.
Yeah. And most people don't read the ingredient list.
It's very true. We are out of time, but we do have one comment that I'd like to share. I think it's quite interesting. It's from YouTube, from Loch Ness Monster 1912. We also give old people Botox and load their minds with YouTube. What do you think this person means by this? We give old people Botox and load their minds with YouTube.
It's a good one.
Well, what do you think this person means by that, though?
I think it's because old people, you don't see the wrinkles. Maybe they take Botox, the wrinkle, they look healthy and younger, and they load their minds with YouTube. I mean, on YouTube, there are many fitness and nutrition stuff also for older people because it's a huge market. Most of the stuff is crap, but I think that's what the meaning is. I think so. But maybe the person.
If you think about it, first of all, if you think about celebrities as they're getting older, they're getting Botox. But do you know grandma and grandpa getting Botox? I mean, this is not something that I'm familiar with. I think if you are used to getting Botox when you're younger, maybe you get it when you're older. I have no idea. But I don't know any initiative of people that are, in their 80s that are going for Botox. Now, if we look at certain communities, maybe in the United States, maybe South Florida, there's a lot of older people there. Maybe they are getting Botox. I don't know. But then I think also the comment about loading their minds with YouTube, there is good content on YouTube. Our channels have education and awareness. So I think this is kind of a loaded statement from Loch Ness Monster 1912, and it must be based on this person's experience. But thank you for sharing. We're glad that you're here to watch, and we hope that you'll subscribe to our channels. Roland, what would you like to leave the audience with as we close out today?
Well, think about how you want to end up. Do you really want to be sick and depending on someone else, or want you to be fit that you really can enjoy everyday's life, that you can enjoy your time with your partner, if so is, or with your kids, or your grandkids, or maybe there's still a hobby you want to start and you need the energy. So take care about yourself, take responsibility, and find people around you who are like-minded like you and support each other. I think it's so important when you start something new and change a habit. And I know it's tough to change a habit, but find someone or a group that can support you. That's my advice. And if you want to contact me, I'm more than happy. Send me an email. It's office@rolandfriedl.com. And if you speak German, afterwards I do the Macher Talk. We talk a little bit about self-leadership. And then 2 hours later in the Mutmacher Talk, we talk about less is more, but they're all in German. Thank you.
It's going to be a lot of talking. I love it. All right. Thank you very much, Roland, and good luck on your next 2 shows. And then, of course, you're producing the Persistence Payoff Show with Kimberly Schaefer. So enjoy that as well.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. A lot of what we've talked about today may be new information for you. It might be something you've heard before, but I want you to consider this. In my new book, Stop, Why Knowing Isn't Enough, I highlight the fact that we do know quite a bit of information. We have access to information 24/7 in English, in many different languages. I know YouTube is now translating this show in up to 27 languages. I don't know which ones they'll pick. But the question is, what do we do with all this information? Many times, nothing. We don't take any action because we have stories we tell ourselves. Well, this doesn't apply to me. This is impertinent. I'll deal with it tomorrow. I'll deal with it next week. I'll have someone else deal with it. But if you want to have a healthy life, you are the only one who can do something about it. And it's about changing your mindset. Instead of thinking about all the things that you want to do to celebrate, all the ways you're going to celebrate with external, let's say food, alcohol, vaping, drugs, gambling, shopping, we could go on and on. Maybe look at what's really going on with yourself and look at What are you feeling inside? And that needs to be addressed instead of saying, you know what, I'm really sad today. Let me have a gallon of ice cream. I'm really upset. Let me smoke some cigarettes. Look at what's going on with you inside. And then how do you process it? How do you let your feelings out so that instead of keeping them trapped inside, now you're making a second issue? The second issue is now you're reaching for something that's really unhealthy. And as Roland mentioned, when you are going and doing your grocery shopping, if you live somewhere in the world and you're fortunate that you're able to do that, look at the labels. Some of the labels, you will be shocked when you see how much sugar is in a lot of these items. And if you think about it, if you have a refrigerator and you buy something and you put it in the refrigerator, it might be good for a month. How's it staying good for a month? Have you ever thought about that? If you go to a farmer's market and you buy something there, probably it's going to expire a lot quicker than a similar item that you got in the grocery store that has preservatives. So think about that and think about what those preservatives could be doing to your body long term. We're here providing education and awareness and also hope and inspiration. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Thank you again for being here. We're going to close out now and we'll see you for our next show. Stay tuned. People are searching for experts every day. Are they finding you or are they finding someone else? Every day, professionals are building authority through media. We've already built the platform. USA Global TV and Radio. Over 14,000 shows streamed to over 60 countries. This isn't about becoming famous. It's about leverage, visibility, credibility, opportunity. One interview, one conversation, one show, repurposed into content, connection, and business growth. Most people assume hosting a TV show requires a studio, a production team, and a massive budget. Our television packages begin at $1,500 US per month. Professional production, global distribution, replay visibility, built for voices with something to say. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and if this resonates with you, we should talk. USA Global TV and Radio, all rights reserved. Contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/usaglobaltv. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.